If you have watched any of my New York City Garment District vlogs, you will probably know that I'm very fond of a particular street called, well, it is 39th Street, which is the one street in the New York City Garment District that is quite known not only for supplying unique, often hard to find in one-of-a-kind fabrics from all sorts of international suppliers, but they also carry a lot of overstock from big fashion houses and designers. They buy up the excess fabric that would otherwise be sent to landfill, sell it in their shops for a hefty discount, the fabric does not go to waste, and everyone wins. London also has a sort of equivalent of a 39th Street, and while London doesn't have a sort of centralized garment district as New York City does, there are fabric shops dotted all over the city, as well as a cluster of them sort of in central that tends to be the more posh, high-end, and more expensive shops. The sort of 39th Street equivalent primarily tend to be located on Goldhawk Road, so that is where we are going to go explore today. I have quite a lot of sewing projects that I'm hoping to get a good start on this summer. Once my working time frees up a little bit, I am currently in the process of planning a bunch of projects. I have a lot of new project inspiration in mind and a lot of garments that I'm hoping to make. So I have a bunch of projects tentatively in mind. I have been making lists upon lists upon lists. I'm going to take the entire list of projects with me. Obviously, these are not projects that are all going to happen at the same time. These are probably not all projects that will be able to happen even in the course of this year, maybe in the course of next year. But I'm going to just see what sorts of fabrics are out there. Maybe if I get inspired by something and it matches something on my list. I do want to have the list just to sort of keep my mind vaguely on track. I don't want to buy something that's completely not on my list and then have to add another item to my list because the list is already quite extensive. So I will be trying to stick to that list. I do have a couple of projects that I am really keen to get started on. So some of those I do have fabric for in my stash. Some of them I need little bits and pieces for. Some of them I actually need fabric altogether for. So I have made a list of those items as well as the bits and components that I need to obtain for those. I will caution you, I actually do have a lot of really beautiful wool tweeds and stuff that I'm intending to make garments out of. In fact, when I was dreaming up my project plans, part of my selection of certain garments was because of, oh, this fabric has got to be made into a split skirt. Like, there's no question about this. So some of the more like interesting and pretty fabrics have already been chosen. I know that's like kind of the interesting thing for you to see in a garment district vlog is buying the nice fabrics. A lot of the fabrics on my list are like linen, cotton, stuff that's just super basic and that I use so frequently that I need more of. So I don't doubt that I will find something extraordinary and may or may not impulse buy it. We shall definitely see what happens, but also maybe don't be surprised if I come home with a lot of cotton and a lot of linen. I love that shop so much. They have such great wools and linens and silks. I did not buy anything yet just because that is like the third stop that I have made and I'm hesitant to buy something like immediately because then I'll have to carry it around for a million years, but I will probably go back there and buy some stuff. Stand by. First purchase has been made. This is just some super simple, just white sort of cream charmeuse, which I'm going to use as a lining for a jacket, which I am planning. In other news, being back in a garment district in these sorts of stores reminds me so much of New York. Just being in these narrow alleyways, just crammed with rolls of fabric. It is so nostalgic, I guess. Although I will say the one kind of nicer thing about the London garment district is that the salespeople here kind of just mind their own business. They don't stalk you around the entire store like they do in New York. If you are a regular watcher of this channel, you will know that I primarily work in historical. I mean, the foundation of my work is in historical reconstruction, so reconstructing historical garments as they hypothetically would have been done in the past, using historical methods and materials as much to our modern ability that we can. But I also have been more recently, in a sort of lack of spare time, been working on a lot of wardrobe projects. And so I do intend to continue both factions of sewing. I have a ton of wardrobe projects that I would love to tackle, as well as a bunch of like getting back to my historical reconstruction roots with a couple of pre-19th century, which means fully hand-sewn projects. Those are going to be the less visually interesting because those are the ones that require just yards of linen. I'm going to be kind of shopping for both. That is all to say, as is the nature of the way that I work, I will be primarily looking for natural fiber materials, which tends to be a little bit of a game of roulette when, at least in the New York City garment district in 39th Street, sometimes they just wouldn't know what the fiber content of these materials are because they buy them off of other manufacturers and other suppliers. Sometimes that information is just not available to them. So you kind of never know what you're getting until you get back and you do a bleach test and you find out that the Lady Sherlock skirt wool that you thought was wool is actually pretty much entirely polyester, but we're not going to talk about that. So that is all kind of to say, this is what I'm looking for today. I'm looking for natural fiber materials to assist with some new wardrobe projects, which my wardrobe projects, let's be real, are Edwardian, sort of like 1890s to Edwardian. So they are based in history, but with wardrobe projects, I don't mind the accidental incorporation of a bit of synthetic, a bit of intentional historical inaccuracy because it's not meant to be like an educational reconstruction. This place had such nice tweeds. If I wasn't putting myself in a tweed buying ban, I may have done something a little bit reckless. They also did have some beautiful, stunning, like the finest weight printed cottons. So I will definitely be keeping that in mind for if and when I require those in future. So let's move on. So I got the significant impulsion to reconstruct a pair of 18th century stays the other night, and I'm like still hardcore about that idea. So with garments like a pair of 18th century reconstructed stays, I'm going to need these to be as close to the historical materials as I possibly can be. So this is going to mean making buckram myself because I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to find linen buckram that has been stiffened with natural materials and not with modern glutinous chemicals or whatever they stiffen buckram with nowadays. So whilst we may enjoy swooning over some sparkle shears and some sequin fabric and some metallic brocades and all that fun stuff, we will probably not be purchasing those in this vlog if that is what you are looking for. This is probably not the vlog for you, but if you like some tweed, well, we will have some tweed content for you, because whether or not I bring myself to purchase any more tweed, because oh my god, I have so much tweed at home, there will still be lots of tweed to look at, of course. Honestly, same. So I bought some fabric. As I anticipated, I didn't really buy too many super exciting fabrics, mostly just essential stuff that I needed to actually get stuff done, i.e. linens and linings. First and foremost, I got a couple of yard cuts of these silk charmeuses, which I'm intending to use as linings. I initially just bought this one, which I was intending to use as a lining for a jacket. I also have a split skirt plan. I was going to line that with silk taffeta, but then I realized that that was probably going to be really loud, and I feel like I should line it with something a little bit softer, so I bought 3 meters of this reddish silk charmeuse, which will go with this tweed, which if you will remember, one of my last garment district in New York City vlogs, I bought this absolutely stunning tweed. Here's my irresponsible purchase. I found this bit of absolutely stunning suiting wool that I hardcore want to make into a waistcoat. I only bought 1 meter of it because it was really expensive. As I was on my way back, I was kind of having a little bit of an existential crisis because when I was getting the couple of fabrics cut at that store, he said, oh, all of these are reorderable, oh, except for this one, and then he pointed to this bolt, and I said, oh, that's fine, I only need 1 meter, like it'll be fine. Then of course on my way back I started having an existential crisis because what if I want to make a matching skirt to go with that waistcoat so that it's a full like Victorian suit, but if I want to do that I kind of have to make a decision soon and go back for it because it may or may not hang around, and if it doesn't hang around then that's it. If I end up making a waistcoat out of this, I don't know, however many months from now, and then realize I want the skirt, like that's gonna be too late. So I think all of the best purchase decisions are made when you do not impulse buy a thing, but you walk away from the thing and leave the thing And if you are still thinking about the thing actively, like a week later, and actively want to go through the public transport to go back to the place to get the thing, then you know you truly want the thing, and it's not just like you're buying something impulsively that you aren't going to use. So I think this was ultimately a good decision. The other excitement that I got, this is not really exciting at all, but I got this beautiful brown linen. These are all from the same shop. This is from that shop that I ended up going back to, by the way. I mean, the selvage isn't great, but it's good weight, it's nice fine linen, tightly woven. So this will be really nice for a pair of 18th century stays that I may or may not have impulsively decided to want to make a couple of nights ago. I'm trying to tentatively reconstruct this pair that's featured in Patterns of Fashion 5. I was looking for this is actually a brown linen twill. This is not a twill, but this is a brown linen. I have 1 meter of this. I also bought 1 meter of this, which is a loosely woven linen. This I'm going to make into buckram. Buckram in the 18th century could be any manner of linen, loosely woven, tightly woven, old bed sheets, old sails. I really only need like 6 square inches of buckram, but I bought 1 meter of this just because. The one thing that I did not find that I will probably have to source online is a couple of the stiffening interlining canvas layers in those stays are made from hemp canvas. There's still some materials that I require for this, so this is not entirely ready to be cut out, but materials are slowly being amassed for this. I now have fabric for a waistcoat project. If I want to make a matching walking skirt for this, still to be decided, we shall see. I now have all of the fabrics for this split skirt project. This may be my first project, of course, after I finish Ye Old Mary Poppins gown. And then of course I also have a jacket project, which I now have the lining for. I already have the fabric for. I have every intention to be working on just a ton of projects all at once. I still have a couple of weeks of other work that has to get finished. So sewing things will start up again in July, but then we will be back into the realm of sewing things. As you can see, my workroom is currently quite a bit of a state. My conclusions on the fabric shopping experience in London versus the fabric shopping experience in New York City, which is different from the fabric shopping experience in other parts of America, as well as in Los Angeles in that garment district, as well as elsewhere in the world. So do with this what you will, but from what I found, wools tend to be a bit cheaper, which is super cool because I love my wools. Silks tend to be about the same as in New York City, which is to say that it's a lot cheaper than the rest of America, which tends to have a lot higher prices for silks. Linens and cottons, friends, is so expensive here. I paid, I think, 18 pounds for 1 meter of this, which you would not get that in New York. You would pay maybe $10 for a yard of linen in the garment district in New York City. I didn't buy any cotton. I meant to buy some cotton and I didn't find the right shade that I wanted and quality. I also have a number of just like household garments that I would like to make. Anyway, stay tuned because I'm going to do a whole separate video on discussing future project plans and sketching things out and designing things and choosing fabrics, and it's gonna be a good time. So hopefully if you are interested, you can stick around for that. Thank you very much for joining me on this wonderful adventure to the London garment district, which is obviously only just a fraction of the London possibilities, I guess, in terms of fabric. There are places in Central, which I actually have vlogged a bit of on this channel, so you can go check out that video too as well if you like. We have a lot of work to do, and hopefully I shall see you soon with lots more fun sewing excitement. Okay, bye friends. It is a truth universally acknowledged that to venture out amongst society after a year and a half more or less spent in one's own company is indeed very strenuous business. Therefore, it is essential to be well equipped upon once again returning to the comfort of one's own home with adequate, restful entertainment. Fortunately, one is in this respect perfectly provisioned with the viewing selection available on Acorn TV. Acorn TV is a streaming service specializing in British, Irish, and Australian content, featuring everything from fictional favorites like Miss Fisher's Murder Mystery to fascinating documentaries like Victorian Farm, and even some riveting new original series. I have recently been enjoying Whitstable Pearl, a new Acorn TV exclusive based on the classic cozy mystery novel by Julie Wasmer. This premium commercial-free content is available to watch by downloading the app or can be streamed via Apple and Android devices, Amazon Fire TV, Google Chromecast, Roku, and more for just $5.99 a month. With Acorn TV, there is always something new to discover. Try Acorn TV free for 30 days by going to acorn.tv and using code Bernadette.